Why don't scientists trust atoms?
I don't know, Mark. Why?
Because they make up everything.
I love that one. And speaking of things that make up everything, or at least make learning way more fun, we're diving into humor today.
Welcome back to English Podcast Time, everyone. I'm Mark.
And I'm Deb, and you are tuned into episode 16, where we are exploring something a little bit different today.
That's right. After that atomic joke, we're going to talk about using humor as a tool really to improve your English skills.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds a little bit counterintuitive, right? Like learning usually feels like work, but we're here to tell you why laughter, funny stories, even those corny puns can actually make your journey to English fluency so much more effective and genuinely enjoyable.
You know, Deb, that's a perfect segue, actually, because learning English, it's tough, isn't it? I mean, we talk to so many learners, and the struggles are pretty universal.
Oh, absolutely, Mark. It's not just about sitting there with a textbook, you know? One of the biggest things I hear all the time is just the sheer volume of vocabulary. Like, how do you remember all those words? You learn them one day and then poof, they're gone the next.
Totally. It's a never-ending battle, right? You feel like you're making progress, and then you open a book or watch a movie, and there are 10 new words you've never heard before. And it's not just new words, it's also remembering the context, the nuances. It's a lot.
And then you add grammar on top of that. Oh my goodness. The tenses, the prepositions. I mean, even native speakers get confused sometimes, right? But for learners, it can feel like a really strict set of rules that you have to memorize perfectly. And if you don't, you're making a mistake.
Yeah, it's very rigid. And that rigidity, I think, often leads to another huge problem, the fear of speaking. People get so shy, so hesitant to actually open their mouths because they're terrified of making a mistake or sounding silly or, just not being perfect.
That confidence factor is massive. It's like you might know the words, you might even know the grammar rules in your head, but the moment you have to produce them, you just freeze up. It's a real barrier.
Exactly. And then when you're facing all these hurdles, the vocabulary, the grammar, the fear of speaking, it's so easy to lose motivation, isn't it? You start off super enthusiastic and then a few weeks in, a few months in, it just becomes a chore. It's hard to keep that consistent drive.
Right. And that's where I think our topic today really shines because, who wants to feel like they're doing chores when they're learning something new, especially something that should be exciting and open up new worlds? So finding a way to make it less intimidating, more enjoyable, that's key.
Exactly. And that's where humor steps in, isn't it? Because it's not just about making things fun, though that's a huge part of it. It's actually a really powerful tool for skill acquisition, too.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it, Mark. When you're laughing, you're relaxed, right? Your brain is more open to new information. It's not stressed about memorizing everything perfectly. And that's key.
Yeah, it's true. It's like when you hear a good joke, it just sticks with you. And that's the magic we're talking about here. So let's dig into how different forms of humor can actually, specifically aid our listeners with their English skills. What do you think is the most obvious one to start with? Jokes?
Jokes, definitely. When you learn a joke, especially in English, it's not just the words. You have to understand the cultural context, the setup, the punchline. Why is it funny to a native speaker? That's a whole different layer of understanding, isn't it?
It totally is. And think about the intonation. A joke isn't funny if you deliver it flatly, right? So practicing telling jokes, that forces you to really pay attention to your rhythm, your stress, your pronunciation. You have to nail that comedic timing. That's huge for speaking fluency.
Big time for speaking. And for listening, too. When someone tells you a joke, you have to actively listen for those cues, those little pauses, the build-up. It's not just hearing words. It's understanding the unspoken parts, the humor of it. And if you don't get it, you can ask, hey, why is that funny? And that's another conversation, more practice.
And it's a natural conversation, too. It's not let's discuss the past perfect continuous. It's, did you hear the one about? And that immediately puts you in a real-world communication scenario. For reading, you might read joke books or online joke sites, which helps with casual language, slang sometimes, and understanding quick, concise writing.
Yeah, and that's a great way to expand vocabulary in a fun way too, especially with puns. Oh, I love puns. Some people groan, but I think they're brilliant.
Oh, Deb, you're a pun person. I feel like you either love them or hate them. But you're right, they are incredibly effective for language learning.
So effective because a pun, right, relies on double meanings or words that sound similar but have different meanings. So to get a pun, you have to understand those multiple layers of vocabulary. It's like a little brain exercise. Like, why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field. You get it? Outstanding in the field, like a literal field.
Yeah, I got it. And that kind of wordplay is so unique to English sometimes. It really highlights the flexibility of the language. For vocabulary retention, puns are amazing because they force you to link different meanings of a word together. It's not just memorizing outstanding as in excellent, but also standing out.
Exactly. And for writing, trying to create a pun, that's advanced wordplay right there. You have to really know your vocabulary inside and out to craft something clever like that. It helps you think creatively with the language. And for reading, obviously, identifying them helps with comprehension of those subtle nuances.
Yeah, and I think that leads us really nicely into funny stories or anecdotes, because that's not just a single sentence like a joke or a pun. It's a whole narrative.
Oh, definitely. Telling a funny story or recounting a funny incident, that's like a masterclass in conversational English. You have to structure your thoughts, you have to use transition words, you have to build up to the punchline, you have to keep the listener engaged.
You're right, and it's not just like remembering words, it's remembering how to connect them, how to build a coherent narrative. First this happened, then that happened, and you wouldn't believe what happened next. That's narrative structure practice. And for speaking, it helps with flow and rhythm because you're trying to make it engaging, not just grammatically correct.
And for listening, if someone is telling you a funny story, you're not just listening for the plot points. You're listening for their emotional cues, their tone, how they're expressing themselves, which is just so important for natural comprehension. You're absorbing all that nonverbal communication too.
And that's a skill that's often overlooked, isn't it? Just understanding the nuances of how people speak naturally, rather than just the dictionary definition of words. For writing, if you're, say, keeping a journal, and you decide to write about something funny that happened to you, that's great practice for constructing a narrative, organizing your thoughts, and expressing emotion through text.
Absolutely. And then we can't forget about humorous media, like sitcoms. Oh my goodness, Mark. Sitcoms are they're a goldmine for English learners.
They really are. I mean, think about Friends or The Office or Modern Family. People watch these shows not just for entertainment, but they're actually learning so much incidentally.
So much. For listening, it's incredible. You're exposed to natural, authentic conversations, different accents sometimes, slang, idioms. And because it's a sitcom, the dialogue is often quite snappy and well written. You can watch with subtitles, then without. You can pick up on pronunciation patterns, stress, everything. And the repetition, like if you love a show, you watch it over and over. And that repetition helps so much with cementing vocabulary and phrases in your mind. For speaking, you can literally shadow the characters, mimic their intonation, their speed, their reactions. It's like having a free conversation partner, sort of.
Totally. And with sitcoms, you get the visual context too, which is just invaluable for understanding. You see their expression on their face, their body language, and it helps you piece together the meaning of the words, even if you don't know every single one. That's massive for overall comprehension.
And for reading, the subtitles are key. You can read along, see how the words are spelled, associate the sound with the written form. If you're feeling really ambitious, you can even pause and look up words or try to transcribe parts of the dialogue. That's intense reading and writing practice.
Yeah, or even writing down funny lines or idioms you hear, and then trying to use them in your own sentences. That's a great way to internalize them. So really, from short jokes to full-blown sitcoms, Humor provides this incredible dynamic environment for learning all 4 skills. It's not just a bonus, it's an integral part of the process, I think.
I agree. And the great thing is, it makes the process so much more sticky. You know, you remember the funny moments, and because you remember the situation, you remember the language that went with it. It's a powerful memory aid.
Absolutely. It's like your brain isn't even aware it's learning because it's so busy enjoying itself. And I think to really drive this home, Mark, we should share a story. I mean, we've talked a lot about the theory and the methods, but what about someone who actually, did it successfully?
Ooh, I love that idea, Mark. A real-world example, you know? It really makes it tangible. Do you have someone in mind? Because I was actually thinking about a former student of mine, Anya.
Oh, tell me about Anya. I'm always fascinated by these personal journeys. What was her situation and how did humor play a role? Okay, so Anya, she was a brilliant student, honestly. Very diligent, but incredibly shy, painfully shy when it came to speaking English. She knew all the grammar rules. Her written English was pristine, her vocabulary was extensive, but the moment she had to speak, she would just clam up. Her face would get red, she'd apologize constantly for any tiny mistake. It was like she was terrified of sounding, not perfect.
I know that feeling so well. So many learners struggle with that fear of making mistakes, right? It just paralyzes them.
Exactly, and we tried everything. Practice conversations, role-playing, everything. But she was just so inhibited. And then one day I suggested, almost as a last resort, that she just watch more English comedy, sitcoms, stand-up, whatever she found funny. Not even to study it, just to enjoy it, because I noticed she had a great sense of humor in her native language.
Interesting. So you weren't even pushing it as a learning tool initially, just as a way to, relax?
Precisely. Just to, get her out of her own head a little bit. And what happened was she started with friends, like so many people do, because it's so accessible. And at first she was using subtitles, obviously, trying to understand the jokes. But what she told me was after a while, she just started to feel lighter, less pressure. She wasn't consciously trying to memorize phrases, but because the jokes were so memorable, she found herself understanding the language around them without even trying.
So the enjoyment became the vehicle for the learning. That's so powerful.
It really was. And then, this is where it gets good. After a few months of just immersing herself in these sitcoms, she came to class one day and she was still quiet, but then someone made a comment about something unrelated and Anya, without even thinking, just blurted out, "Oh, that's like what Chandler Bing would say." And everyone laughed because they knew friends. And she actually blushed, but then she smiled. It was the first time I'd seen her actually make an unprompted, natural comment in English.
Wow, so a spontaneous connection, and it was funny.
Yeah, and from that moment on, it was like a little switch flipped. She started referencing jokes from the shows, trying to explain why something was funny to her classmates, and because she was trying to make people laugh, the focus shifted from, am I grammatically perfect, to, am I connecting with this person? Are they understanding my point? Is this funny?
Oh, that is such a critical shift. It makes communication the priority, not just correctness.
Exactly. And her pronunciation, her intonation, they improved dramatically because she was mimicking the characters she loved. She wasn't just saying words, she was trying to convey emotion, comedic timing. Her listening skills went through the roof because she had to understand the setup for every punchline, the cultural nuances. And her vocabulary expanded because humor often relies on idiomatic expressions and slang.
So she went from being paralyzed by fear to actually enjoying the performance of speaking English in a way?
Pretty much. And her confidence just blossomed. She eventually started telling her own simple jokes, even if they were a little silly at first. And the laughter from her classmates, that positive reinforcement it was everything. She realized that making a mistake or even delivering a joke badly wasn't the end of the world. It was part of the process, part of the fun. She wasn't afraid to try anymore.
That's incredible. It completely transformed her relationship with the language, didn't it? From something intimidating and rigid to something playful and engaging.
Completely. And she ended up becoming one of the most confident speakers in her group, not because she suddenly became perfect, but because she stopped caring about perfection and started focusing on connection and enjoyment. Laughter was her secret weapon, really. It broke down those psychological barriers that all the grammar exercises in the world couldn't touch.
That's a beautiful story, Mark. It really highlights how humor isn't just a learning aid, but a pathway to genuine fluency and confidence. It's like it takes the pressure off.
It totally does, and it makes it memorable, too. You remember the times you laughed, and with that, you remember the language you used or heard. It's a win-win. It totally does, and it makes it memorable, too. You remember the times you laughed, and with that, you remember the language you used or heard. It's a win-win.
Absolutely. So I guess to wrap things up here for this episode, what we're really trying to say is that learning English, or any language for that matter, doesn't have to be this super rigid, textbook only kind of journey.
Yeah, exactly. It really can be like genuinely fun. We've talked about how humor, whether it's through jokes, puns, or even just watching funny shows, it really takes the intimidation out of it.
Yeah, it definitely makes it less daunting. When you're laughing, you're more relaxed, and that just opens up your brain to absorb things in a way that rote memorization just can't quite achieve. It's more effective because it's engaging.
And it sticks, right? Like you're not just learning words, you're learning them in context, with emotion, with a memory of a laugh. That makes the vocabulary and grammar just, more sticky, more memorable.
Sticky is a great way to put it, Deb. And honestly, it really does make the whole process so much more enjoyable. And when something's enjoyable, you're more likely to keep doing it, right? Consistency is key, and humor totally helps with that. It's the joyful path to fluency, really.
So before we sign off, Mark, I'm thinking we've talked so much about humor today, and I bet our listeners have some amazing stories or jokes of their own.
Oh, absolutely, Deb. That's a fantastic idea. So to all our amazing listeners out there, we'd absolutely love to hear from you. Seriously, if you have a favorite English joke or maybe even a funny moment from your own language learning journey.
Yeah, like a time you totally messed up a word and it turned into something hilarious. Or, a joke that really helped you understand a new idiom.
Exactly. Please share them with us in the comment section wherever you're listening. We'd love to read them. And who knows, maybe we'll even feature some in a future episode.
Yeah, that would be so fun. And of course, if you enjoyed this episode or if you're just looking for more insightful and hopefully entertaining tips for improving your English, make sure you hit that subscribe button for English Podcast Time.
Yes, please do. We're always cooking up new episodes to help you on your English journey, and we truly appreciate you tuning in. So for Dev and myself, Mark,
It's been a blast. Keep laughing and keep learning.
and we'll catch you next time. Bye for now.